So welcome everybody again to the Canadian Spectrum. People returning, people coming for the first time. I'd like to welcome everybody. Over the several meetings we had before, we talked about several issues. Some of them were sort of moderate ones, some of them were very controversial. And we talked about home, we talked about the others, we talked about religion, and something like community. And today we're touching upon a very important topic that people have been talking about for the past centuries, I would say. For the past centuries, and like it has been an ongoing topic. And it's a woman. And when we say the word woman, like there are different thoughts and ideas that might come to people's mind. And these are the things we'll be discussing together. As usual, as you know, in the Canadian Spectrum, we do not offer specific answer solutions, like we try to find something together. Okay, there isn't a specific right or wrong, it's what we try to discover together. But the status of women has always been a very controversial issue. People have always been wondering, are women getting their rights? Are they not getting their rights? Are they is asking for the rights, are they asking for the rights in a right way, in a wrong way, and so on and so on. Throughout the ages, there's been talk about imbalance, there isn't much of a balance between men and women. There is this scale, and people would argue that men have more rights. Men might argue otherwise, and this is something that will be open to discussion, but the scale and the equality or balance between men and women, and what does this really mean? What is the meaning of this? Again, through the slideshow, we'll be just showing different topics. I'll be opening topics, and then afterwards, we'll be opening the discussion. So these are just the key topics we'll be touching upon. One of the major, again, religion is always into the picture. Whether people like it or not, it is part of the picture, always. And whether it is the proper use of religion, or is it the wrong use of religion, is another term as well. Is it the problem in religion itself? Is it the faith itself? Or is it the wrong or misuse of religion? Okay, and this is another very important topic for people to discuss. So did religion play a role or did not play a role in the oppression of women throughout the ages? Historically speaking, the answer is yes. It did play a role. It is a fact. Is this because religion says so or does not say so? That's a different story. But has religion played a role in the oppression of women throughout the ages? The answer is yes, it is true. It is an established fact. Women have been oppressed through the use of different faith and different religions throughout the ages. And again, of course, the source is to be discussed. This is a verse from the Quran, a translation of the verse from the Quran. Again, whether you should take it literally, should you take it in a different perspective, that's another thing to be discussed as well. Okay, these are the key elements. But these are things that have been used. And again, of course, if you think otherwise, you're most welcome to discuss that in the next part of the discussion. But this is a verse from the Quran that says, men have authority over women because God has made the one superior to the other, and because they spend their wealth to maintain them. Good women are obedient. They guard their unseen parts because God has guarded them. As for those from whom you fear disobedience, admonish them and send them to beds apart and beat them. Then, if they obey, you take no further action against them. Surely God is high supreme. Now, such a verse, which is in the Quran, has been used throughout the different ages as a source of oppression of women. Does this verse really call for that? That's a different story. Okay, but this has been used for that. Now moving to the Bible, namely the New Testament. This again is in the Bible. A woman should learn in quietness and full submission. I do not permit a woman to teach or to assume authority over a man. She must be quiet. For Adam was formed first, then Eve. And Adam was not the one deceived, it was the woman who was deceived and became a sinner. Wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands, as you do to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, his body of which he is the Savior. Now, as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit to their husbands in everything. We'll be returning again to these verses for more details, but this is a part of the Bible. It is an authentic part of the Bible that has been used again throughout the ages for oppression of women. And these are established facts. Now, moving to the scientific or the biological or the anatomical part, going to the science of anatomy, dissecting the parts of both man and woman, namely the brain, because it has always been argued, are women as smart as men? Or are they less smart? Are men more smart than women, or is it the other way around? Now, basically, we have a male and a female hormone. These male and female hormones play a very important role in the structure and focus of both men and women's bodies, including their brains. So, scientifically, it would say that because of testosterone, the male hormone, men's brain are more focused, narrow, deep view, while women have a broad contextual view, web thinking. Women tend to be more theoretical, while men tend to be more analytical. Both can be independent. Men are more direct, women are more indirect. Men are more tough-minded. Women are more tender-hearted than men. Men are more goal-oriented. Women are more process-oriented. They look at the process itself more than the goal. So how will we do the thing? But men just care, what is the final goal? I want to go and get that. Poor people and verbal skills for men. Men do not have very good verbal and people skills. They do not interact with the other, do not have weak social skills. Women tend to be more sociable. Women can get along with others easier than men can, especially if they are from a different background. Men from a different background, usually from a different cultural or religious background, hardly get along together. It's much harder for men from different backgrounds to get along together than women. So you would find if, for example, your wife or your sister has a friend from a different background or a different culture, if she wants to introduce you, to the husband of her friend, usually the result is negative. While the other way around is much easier. So if I have a friend of mine and I would like to introduce his wife to mine, it's much easier. Much easier. Men are more realistic, women are more idealistic. You want everything to be more ideal. Men are more emotionally contained, detached, their emotions are put aside. Women are more emotional. They have their emotions showing. Their emotions would show more. Men are more aggressive while women are more cooperative. Men are thick-skinned, meaning that they can forgive easier. Women are hypersensitive to any tiny, and it would be hard for them to forgive. It would be hard for them to forgive. Men are more heroic, like me, I'm the hero, I'm the star. Me, I am. Women are more interested in the community part. Let's all have a nice time. Let's all more have a nice time. Again, of course, you may agree or disagree with these. Now, one of the arguments, again, has been, and this is something, again, we can further discuss, is it really the men who are oppressing the women? Like, there are no women's rights because of men? Or is it the women themselves? Who's to blame? So here you have you have a protest for women's rights. Women's rights, vote for women. And then all of a sudden, the leader turns her, she turns her back, turns around again, and two of them are gone. And WO is gone, so women becomes men. And why are they gone? Because they found a sale. They found a good sale on clothes, so they just left and left the women. So is it really men to blame, or is it women themselves? They are not really serious when it comes to women's rights. They talk and talk and talk, but when it comes to action, they hardly take any action. Another thing, again, is domestic violence. Women do not have their rights or their right position in society because of domestic violence, because they have violence and aggression, namely physical violence, against them by their spouses, by their husbands. Is that really a reason? So if men stop oppressing their wives, physically, that is, violently, would women have a better status in society? Is this a fact or not? This is something for us to discuss as well. Now, humans are basically made of the three elements. So we are spirits, body, and mind. So you have a body. Humans are mammals. Homo sapiens, they're animals. Okay. They are on the top of the animal kingdom, but they are still animals. They have basic instincts of desire, of hunger, of control, of aggression, of sex. All these are basic instincts that humans share with any other mammal or creature on this planet. So this is the body. Humans, again, have fragile bodies. Like, their bodies are not extremely strong or extremely weak. They have sort of moderate bodies compared to other creatures on this planet. But again, humans have a more superior thing than other creatures with their mind. Their mind, again, our brain, is a triune brain, is three brains in one. We have the reptilian brain, the lowest brain, which we share with all primitive animals. This reptilian brain is what helps us when we're hungry, when we're thirsty, when we're afraid, okay, when we perform sexual intercourses. All these are reptilian. These are things that are shared by other creatures as well. Then we have what is called, the limbic brain, which is the brain that is given to all creatures that have limbs. Mostly like mammals, birds, and so on. These are creatures that care for their children, who have affection towards their partner in life. And then the highest part is the cortex. The cortex is what gives us the ability to think, to create, to invent, and to make different artistic performances. And through this higher brain in our mind, this is what makes us connected to the spirit, or what humans believe to be the spiritual world. Now, the question is, throughout the ages has been argued, do men and women see each other as a complete creature or not? Are women seen as a complete creature, spirit, body, and mind? And do men perceive women as a complete creature? And do they equally respect her spirit, body, and mind equally? Or do they give more attention to one part more than the other? And the other way around. Do women as well perceive men as complete creatures, or do they give more attention to one side more than the other? Which one is true and which one is not? Throughout the ages, the most important thing that humans have been calling for, the thing that humans have fought the most for, have died for, is freedom. Freedom, liberty. The biggest dream of all nations throughout history has been liberty, has been freedom. And something that is considered ironic, like, is sort of dark comedy, is that something like the Statue of Liberty. This Statue of Liberty, this French statue, this French construction, and which is France as a source of, one of the major sources of modern democracy in the world, and has been given as a present to the United States of America, which is considered, again, cradle of democracy in the modern world in sort of North and South America, happens to be a lady. Statue of Liberty is not a man, it's a woman. It's a woman. This woman is holding a torch of freedom. But the question is, did this woman get her own freedom? This woman that's holding the torch and calling for freedom for everybody, did she herself get her freedom? Did she get her freedom or not? She's calling for freedom. She's a symbol of freedom, a very famous, internationally known symbol of freedom all around the world. The Statue of Liberty is an icon. But did women really get their rights? Did they really get their freedom? Did they get their liberty that they want to grant to everybody else? Okay, so one of the major things that have always been discussed as well as a symbol for women's freedom has been their attire, their clothes, their costumes. Because costumes are not only things for people to wear, costumes are part of culture, part of respect, and so on. So these are women costumes at the beginning of the century, of the past century, the beginning of the 20th century. And these clothes, these costumes, if valued in today's values, are considered to be rather extra conservative clothes. Extra conservative clothes that are very, very much covering and conservative over women's bodies. Then we carry on with the rest of the century, the 1920s till 2000. And if we noticed in the previous picture, most of the women's clothes were more loose, not tight, and they were long in terms of sleeves, in terms of skirt, in terms of trousers and so on, or pants. Women's clothes later on became tighter and shorter. This is very much related. This is very much related to the next point. Who makes these women's clothes? These are designers. And what is generally common about most of these designers? They're men. Exactly. Most of these designers are men. They're the ones who made these fashions, these trends. What is fashionable? What is in vogue or out of vogue, what is considered to be chic, something that is presentable. It is made by those people. It is made by those men. So the change in women's clothes, was this a choice of women or a choice of men? Something for us to discuss again in the coming part of this presentation. Now, whether we like it or not,
woman or them?
yeah, so whether we like it or not, when we come to the prostitution industry and strip industry and, erotic shows, percentage-wise, or pornography on the internet and so on, percentage-wise of men versus women tends usually to be very different. What is the percentage of women versus men used in strip clubs, in pornographic sites, in, escort sites, and all these things? There is a very big difference. Again, is a woman really seen as a pleasure toy, a pleasure slave for men? Is this really true? Is this an exaggeration? How true or untrue is this? Do men really see women as a complete creature? Or do they see women as just something that, we can turn the lights on just for pleasure? Once the pleasure is over, lights are off, the bonds are on. You can only have the bonds off and turn the lights on once you give pleasure. If you do not give that, you are deprived for that. And of course, we are not talking about a specific culture, we're talking about the world. These things might not be true in a place, but we're talking about the general picture in the world. How is it like, really? Are women respected as complete creatures, or as they respected? Again, if we talk about human trade, unfortunately, human trade is a very profitable and lucrative business, especially with the wars happening all around the world. Wars happening around the world leaves a lot of orphan girls who lost their parents, single mothers, etc., 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 etc. And it leaves boys as well. But when we talk about slave trade, modern human slave trade, what is also known as flesh trade, what is the percentage of men and women? And when men are bought by others and women are bought by others, what is the reason for that? Is the use of a woman's body a priority or not? And now we're talking about the most important issue, which is equality of men and women. This has always been a very important topic that people have been talking about. Equality between men and women. Now the real question is, are women looking for equality? Are they looking for equity? Or are they looking for feminism? So equality, just give everybody the same thing, regardless. So the tall guy doesn't really need a box. This guy, yes, benefited with the box, he was able to see. But the short one, useless. He needs more than one box. Equity, or what is known as justice, balance, okay, is giving everybody according to their need. Tall guy doesn't need anything, so he shouldn't get anything. The medium tall one, needs a box. The short one needs 2 boxes, so everybody can watch. Now, feminism which is a call for giving women their full rights, is seen by some people as an extreme. Now, we have feminist movements all around the world. Some people see that as an extreme. Because here, you are depriving someone. You want to take everything for yourself. And this is a counter-argument by men today. They're saying that, you know what? Women are maybe taking more than their rights. They've gotten the rights and they have taken ours as well. So which one is the real picture today? Which one is really true or untrue? All these are questions for us to think about and discuss. Of course, this gives us, like different questions in our minds related to history, related to modern times, related to day-to-day interaction. Again, we have different societies around the world. We have societies in a country like Canada, but Canada is not the only country on the planet. Again, is Canada really a place for proper women's rights? Again, this is something that even Canadians are arguing about. Do all Canadians see, does everybody here in Canada believe that women are receiving their full rights? Yes or no? This is a very big argument as well. This is a very, very big argument. Are they really receiving their rights? Are they receiving more than their rights, less than their rights? Are they receiving equality to men, but is this equality really helping them? Is equality what they really need, or do they need something else? Then, moving from Canada to the rest of the world. What is the situation of women around the world? Is it becoming any better around the rest of the world? Or is it becoming worse? Who are the first victims of violence around the world? Of wars, of terrorism, of violence, and so on? Is it men only? Is it women only? Is it a balance between both? Is there more of one side than the other side? All these are things for us to discuss and think about. Okay, let's go for a short break, a very short break, and then we'll resume with the second part of our presentation to talk about ways of tackling these points.